if we could address you directly right now.
Everything comes full circle.
That's number one.
I don't tell him what questions to ask me.
There are a lot of people around town that have the same question.
Brush my teeth. I'm a good watch in the morning.
I can't confirm or deny.
You know, just keep going a little bit longer here, Mike. You keep going a little bit longer.
ESPN Radio. Tomorrow's broadcasting stars today. Broadcasting live from the campus of Syracuse University. This is Newhouse Afternoon.
Welcome back to Newhouse Afternoon. I'm Jillian Schumacher here with Patrick Scanlon and Andrew Watson. We were just having a little bit of I'll call it a debate rather than an argument over in and out of bubble bracket talk, but
I mean, big games for the ACC last couple of days, though. I mean, and last night, too. But here's the thing. It's February, so that means it's time for the ACC to cannibalize itself. Right now, they're looking at a 4-bid league. So 18 teams, you got to get more than 3 teams in there.
There was a lot of games today this week in and out of the ACC that caused teams to shift and move around within the AP top 25 polls. The only big jump we saw was Tennessee by 2 slots. But within the ACC right now, it is really all over the place, I would say, for sure.
It is. No, it's bonkers. Over the place. It is. I mean, this is time to watch. The last cutoff is Super Bowl Sunday, because if you don't join after Super Bowl Sunday, you really can't. Don't even bother making a bracket, because you gotta. February is the month that you gotta watch to enjoy March properly. I'd say January and December and November are also equally important, but if you could only digest one month before March, it's got to be February. That just logically that makes sense, right?
Well, there's also going to be some key games in March before
that's
the
also
NCAA
true.
tournament. So, I mean,
well, if we can even have a chance to go to the ACC tournament, that's another thing.
That will be a huge thing. To follow
because 15 of the 8. So what? You get 15 teams in there, but there's now 3 new teams. Hello, SMU, Stanford, and Cal. So 3 teams will end their season on March 8th and 9th, a week earlier than expected. Syracuse is doing all. I mean, what? They're 2 games up right now.
2 games up.
So the bottom 3 are Miami, who is atrocious. But they did win a game. NC State and Boston College. Boston College, a miracle win against Florida State. They scored 5 points in 3 seconds to win that game at the very end. And then Virginia, big win last night, got them above the bubble too.
Yeah, moved them up. They've also have the head-to-head over Boston College and NC State, which is huge when that tiebreaker is going to come along. But Syracuse has 2 big matchups down the stretch: Boston College and NC State at home. And then those are the ones that, what about
everyone
this loves Duke.
Well, this week
is Duke.
Everyone
Duke
loves
University.
Duke University is this week.
What's not to love about Duke? I mean, what's not? We were talking about this. Would Duke be undefeated in any other conference? But like if they were out somewhere else.
Yeah, no, the question I phrased was, would Duke be ranked as high as they are this year in particular, if they were to be in, let's say, the SEC or the Big East?
Yeah, and I think they would be. I think if they were in the Big East, they easily would be.
Okay,
but if they were in the SEC, or maybe it'll be harder in the Big East actually, because there's not a bunch of great teams. But in the SEC, you could lose a game to a Tennessee or a Florida or an Auburn and still be ranked 2nd in the country. So I think don't sleep on this Duke team. Just because they're in an ACC that is having a historically down year doesn't mean they're bad.
It's sort of like Clemson in football those 2010 years. It was, Clemson, I mean, they play weak ACC opponents, but they would always get there. They'd win a championship or at least go to the equivalent would be like a Final Four, a college football playoff.
Well, you could even draw the same argument to Notre Dame in football, how people were all up in arms that they weren't in a conference and saying that it's not fair, and they get to build their own schedule, and saying that I guess Duke is in a quote-unquote easier year for the ACC and how teams are playing out. But you take them outside of their conference, they're still doing well and performing well right now.
They're 2 losses right now. Kansas and Kentucky, you can't fault them for either of those games. They're both 5-point game and a 3-point game. They beat Arizona on the road. They beat Auburn, the number 1 team in the country, and they beat them. I mean, it was kind of close, but it kind of got out of hand at the end.
Very controlled.
A win is a win. Yeah. It doesn't matter if it's close.
Mm-hmm. In the ACC, I think though they're head and shoulders above everybody else, but they're still getting tested in the conference.
So their next 2 games are really, it's kind of like the sweet and the sour, I guess, because if you look at you have 2 road games, and it's Syracuse, which on paper they should win easily, but again, it could be one of those trap games, and then at Clemson, which is really your biggest test to see if they're going to go undefeated the rest of the way in conference play, I would say.
No.
So would you consider the Syracuse game a trap game?
I would. I think anytime they go anywhere, it's a trap game now.
That's true. Every game's a trap game. That's probably if you're playing in a conference that only has 3 bids. Every time you go on the road, you're going to get the best shot from everybody, and you're going to be potentially, playing with your food and get trapped up there a little, especially if it's a close game late.
I think
why are we here?
When you get this late into conference play, there is many traps that people can fall into. You don't really know what's going to happen, and it could be a toss-up every time for various reasons. I mean, Duke could get comfortable going into this game, and Syracuse can come in hungry. So,
here's the thing.
Two very different things could happen in this game this week.
Duke has only played one single digit game in conference play, and that was Wake Forest. NC State had a lead late, but they still lost by 10 points. Mm-hmm. So even when you play your best basketball for 35 minutes, you play bad 5 minutes and Duke will kill you for it. So you really need to play 40, if not 45, even like an overtime or something. You're going to play your best basketball and then some to have a shot at Duke, which is the big problem.
Yeah, and in that Wake Forest game, it was almost the opposite. It was like Wake played maybe 25 minutes of not so great basketball mixed in with about 15
down 12
really
and a half,
good, worked their way back into the game and had a chance on their home floor. But you talk about Duke, I think anytime they go on the road to an in-state rival in the ACC, I think those games are always tough. No matter if Duke is the best team in the country and Wake Forest is the worst team in the country, they're still going to play like that is the only game that matters on the schedule, especially when they go on the road at UNC to finish the season. I think at Clemson and at North Carolina, they're 2 biggest tests, but you really can't sleep on some of these games too, like with Stanford coming to town or Wake Forest coming to Cameron Indoor looking for revenge.
That's another thing in the ACC is it's kind for those bottom teams. It's kind of you have to play 3 teams twice on your schedule. Out of all the 18 ACC opponents, you have 17 opponents to face, with you being the one. It's how good of a draw can you get? So Syracuse kind of lucking out right now by having to play BC twice. They've already beat them in Chestnut Hill. They'll play them Saturday. So if they can win that, they have a step up on BC anyway. And Miami's probably staying down towards the bottom. They still have to play at Miami. So Syracuse can win those games and then steal a couple other ones. They'll be sitting pretty, if not like a 12 seed, maybe 13, 11, something like that.
After this week, with all those games happening, who do we think really rose and fell within this conference for us looking at this past week?
I think my riser and faller came from the same game. It was last night.
Last night on ESPN.
Pitt, heartbreaker, the game before on a Saturday. And then they go back home. They're looking for a little bit of vengeance against the UVA team that is, for lack of a better term, not good. And UVA came.
They didn't play like that.
They went and played lights out. Probably the best game they've played all season, especially in conference play. So Pitt's my faller. They've lost 6 of their last 8. They had high expectations coming into the season. They still are on the bubble. They are last 4 in.
They have to work a little harder to get on the bubble.
Yes.
The thing about Pitt that really threw me off, because they are also my faller, which I can't really quite wrap my head around. You have a team like Clemson, who is in the top of the ACC right now. They lose to them in overtime by 2 points. 2 points. So they have it in them to play well and to compete. But then you go and lose to a team like Virginia. And if it were to be
this is the ACC.
Listen to this. If you lost to a team like Virginia by like a little bit, something's happened. The score of this game was 73-57. That is not a close margin.
And you're at home too. You're in the Steel City for this one, so
it's just what is happening internally that there is such a large jump.
You said they came out. They didn't even come out of the gate. They just
it was
they
bad.
didn't even lace them up.
They were up 4-0, and then UVA hit a couple free throws, and I was like, okay, classic Virginia. This is going to be a good game for Pitt, whatever. And then they just couldn't score again. UVA went on a 17-0 run. And that was the game. There were moments where it felt like Peterson Event Center was getting loud. They were getting back into it, and then UVA would hit some miraculous step-back 3 to bring that back up.
Where is this team going from?
And now they're putting themselves in a pretty dangerous spot after this game and the rest of their schedule going into UNC. They can't really afford to play bad going further into their schedule now that they're on the cusp of the bubble.
Yeah, they just lost. I mean, they've lost 6 of their last 8 games. They came to Syracuse, and Syracuse had them pretty much nearly on the ropes, and they found a way to, still a 4-point game, but got to find a way to get that one done. They found a way, and they found a way to beat UNC too. The good news, they just felt the bubble last night, or they're right on the edge. Lenardi talked about it. you can't really take those blemishes in the ACC. You can lose to quad one games. Here's the good thing, though. The next two games they play are both on the road against some top ACC opponents. North Carolina and SMU. If they can win those two games, they'll be right sitting pretty. They won't even be in the first 4 byes. They'll be probably like 8 teams in. So they'll be all right. But the problem is if you go 1-1 here and then you have some real landmines. You have Miami, you have Syracuse again, and you have like at Notre Dame, and then you got at NC State. So that could be a bumpy road for them, and you don't want to go down that road. You want to beat SMU and at UNC, and lost 6 out of 8. Something's wrong with Capel's squad.
Yeah, but you can't forget, sorry to interrupt you, but you can't forget that UNC is also on the bubble. Right now they're next 4 out. So when Pitt goes to Chapel Hill, when is that game? This weekend.
Yeah.
That game is pretty much both of them fighting for their tournament lives. I mean, obviously not exactly.
But obviously there are other characteristics, but in retrospect, yes, they are.
Yeah.
That's my follower is. My follower is every ACC bubble team. There are 8 teams in the first 4 out and the next 4 out on Lenardi's bubble right now. 4 of them are ACC teams. That's SMU, UNC, Pitt, and SMU.
And Wake.
No, Wake's even farther down. I said, this is his most recent tweet.
I've got it pulled up from this morning.
Okay, so that even
SMU,
perfect. Then you have 5 ACC teams on the wrong side of the bubble and 3 ACC teams on the right side of the bubble, like perfect position, like Duke, Clemson, and Louisville. They're fine. They'll be in the tournament.
Yeah.
But you have 5 ACC teams that are in the mix, and they're both all on the wrong side. You're going to need something to go right if you don't want 3 teams alone to go to the ACC from the ACC tournament into the March Madness.
So would you consider out of those teams, which one is technically your follower?
All of them.
All of them. Okay. All of them.
Here's the thing, though, because it's February. That means it's cannibalism time in the ACC. They will. Miami and BC. BC just did at FSU a sneaky like flat bubble team who was on their way back up. The bottom of the ACC, from what I've seen, just will find it in them to go and shock some team on the road and just destroy their tournament hopes. Syracuse kind of played that spoiler last year a couple of times with Judah Mintz. There's 18 teams, and if you had 3 of them like real locks of the tournament and 5 of them in the middle somewhere, the bottom it's like they're fighting for their season, especially the teams that are fighting to get into the ACC tournament, let alone March Madness. That's your problem. It's right there. Like the NC State will find some way to get it done.
All right. Well, that's all for the ACC talk as of now. You're listening to Newhouse Afternoon. We'll be right back on ESPN Radio, Syracuse 97.7. But if you want to chat during the commercial break, you can watch us on qsports.com.
Syracuse basketball head coach.
We'll talk Doot next.
Doot.
Or do give our predictions, I guess.
Thank you.
Doot. Eddie.
Yeah, well, we could also talk about all the other games as well.
Doot?
Like all the other like non-ACC teams too.
Oh, the ACC.
The problem is with like all these ACC schools, there's like almost no opportunity to move up.
That's the problem.
Because you have teams like Vandy and Georgia who are in the last 4 byes, and they don't have a bad loss remaining. Like they can't lose a game they should win.
So you're going to need to get blown out in all of them for have any net semblance of anything, or KenPom to even move you anywhere.
But then you even look at like UCF and Xavier and Arizona State. Like the Big 12 isn't as great as it has been in the past.
Hi,
Xavier has some good opportunities.
One of my cousins commented. Yes, I know a member.
What? Oh, wow. Andrew commented on something. He said, "Go Hoos."
All the
it could have been anyone. It could have been anyone with that Xbox handle. It could have been anyone.
Yeah.
All the comments in the stream are just Andrew chatting through different accounts.
Do you think I should go make an account and ask you a question?
Yes. No, don't tell her that. We shouldn't do that at all.
That'd be terrible. Don't do that.
My eyes are wide for radio listeners.
Trust me.
I don't know. There's no one on the radio right now. We're listening live. We're on this video stream.
I have some thoughts about
Dude?
Stop. About these games in the AP Top 25.
If you bring up an SEC game,
if you say who I think
Ole Miss, whoever that
so
heck they're playing, I'll be mad.
You talk about Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Auburn.
I'm not talking about any of those teams.
Let's go.
Are you talking about the biggest game in the state tonight? Because that is a big game tonight. 6:30, the world's most famous arena.
That game's tonight?
6:30.
Weren't we supposed to go to that?
No, we're supposed to go to... Actually, no, we're going to St. John's, Yukon on the back end of the Philly trip.
We are not going to that.
Yes, we are. Doot, doot, doot.
Dude, no, we're not.
Doot, doot, doot. I like St. Mary's, man.
St. Mary's is sneaky good. But also, it's that conference, you know?
No, I always say this, and then... Actually, no, I always say this, and it always backfires for Gonzaga, and it always is right for St. Mary's. because it's just them two.
What conference is St. Mary's?
The West Coast Conference, WCC. So that's Gonzaga. Santa Clara's in there.
They're good.
Gonzaga's in that
Except
conference?
when they played, when they got shut out for, 10 straight game minutes?
That did happen.
To start the
I did not think wait, what?
Well, they are. Gonzaga's in it now. They're going to move to the Pac-12.
Oh, okay. That's what I
For some reason now they're going to do that. I don't know why. They're
I think
deciding
it's funny
now.
you went through that list and you said St. Mary's, Gonzaga, Santa Clara.
San Francisco?
And you forgot about San Francisco.
I like the Dons.
Don't ever forget about
the Dons are good. You know who else is in there? Washington State and Oregon State.
I know.
And they're not doing half bad right now.
No, they're not. Well, Washington State has a losing record in the conference, but
That's fine. They're a quad 2 game on the road.
Portland's not doing so hot. I know you like Portland in their arena.
I've called a game in the Portland Pilots arena. Eric Spoelstra went to Portland.
Maryland broke into the top 25.
I don't know. They almost lost to Villanova. And they actually should have lost. No, this year.
I'm telling you, I think I already told you guys my Big Ten tournament winner, my prediction.
Michigan State?
No.
Michigan.
Maryland.
So that they'll do nothing in the tournament then.
That's fine.
I think Ohio is coming out of the back.
I think UMass Lowell's got a shot with Quentin Mincy.
Thank you.
People forget about the America East. They really do.
Dude,
People do forget about the America East.
Shout out Binghamton. Binghamton just beat the Catamounts for the first time in forever.
Did they?
Mm-hmm. Thursday.
I should probably know that.
Well, it wasn't lacrosse. It's all right.
Yeah.
It was. The event center was going nuts. I heard.
People also forget about the only undefeated team left in that conference, Rafael Pinzone.
Dude, Bryant's
Connor
good.
Withers.
Connor Withers.
Bryant.
Not Albany, that's for sure.
Albany's doing much better than you would think. They're only one game clear of the bottom of the.
The championship used to be at UMass Lowell, Vermont for like the past 3 years.
Did Colgate beat Lehigh yesterday?
I think Vermont has won 6 of the last 8 tournament titles and has tied for the regular season all
Colgate,
8 years.
Colgate lost at Lehigh by 26 yesterday. Oh, no.
That's atrocious.
ESPN 97.7 and 100.1. Watch live on QSportsTalk.com. Tomorrow's broadcasting stars today. Broadcasting live from the campus of Syracuse University. This is Newhouse Afternoon.
Welcome back to Newhouse Afternoon. This hour of Newhouse Afternoon is powered by Drivers Village Cicero. Go to dvoffers.com for more info. We are officially 6 weeks out from the selection show for March Madness, which means it is crunch time for a lot of these teams in and out of the ACC. And as we know, as the day goes on, the bracketology report goes up and down and teams move around. So what are we thinking so far?
I think this is. I think we sleep in May. That's what I think.
Oh my gosh!
But one thing I said over the break about those ACC schools, not to go back to it, but they don't really have a chance to move up because of all of the SEC schools ahead of them, like Vandy and Georgia. There's just no opportunity for them to lose bad game.
The SEC just set themselves up because they had such a historically great, probably the best non-conference schedule and wins ever. I mean, their ACC challenged. They went 16-2, with their only 2 losses being Auburn to Duke and Clemson to whoever they played. But it's just they didn't lose games in the non-conference. So you have the cream of the crop throughout the SEC, and you just have one bad team at South Carolina, and they're not even that bad.
They're not.
So it's tough to move ahead of those teams because they could just win a good game. Because any game's a good game, and if you lose, it's fine because they're a good team. But if you win, it's like you get a great win on your resume, or a good loss.
Well, within the SEC, I know that this is
thing.
Kind of going to be an inherently obvious statement, but Tennessee really impressed me this past week for various reasons, and you can laugh and you could say whatever you want.
I like Scott Barnes or Rick Barnes.
Tennessee versus Florida really really impressed me, only because they were down 2 starters defensively, and they kept Florida pretty well. I mean, Florida had one of its worst shooting performances, and Tennessee was down 2 starters.
I was at the Tennessee-Florida game in Gainesville on it was like January 8th or whatever that was. Tennessee lost the game because not because Florida played such great defense. It was because they had a bunch of open shots and they didn't make any of them. That was pretty much the consensus right there. And Elijah Martin, the FAU guy they got, is lights out. I mean, if you can stop him though, it gets a lot easier. They do have some other weapons, but Florida beat Tennessee by they pretty handily. It was 30 points. It was the first number 1 seed to lose by 30 plus or more since 1968. So it was kind of an anomaly. I still really like that Florida team. I think they're going to go pretty far in March. We talked potentially Final Four even, but I think so. Tennessee was bound to give them back a smack after. I just think it's
impressive in regards of you're down 2 starters and you hold a team that you didn't do too well against earlier in the season to some of their worst shooting performances.
I agree. It is still impressive, but a lot of it is kind of what Pitt was trying to do against Virginia last night, come out with energy because they lost a game that they wanted to win so bad. For Tennessee, it was okay, if we lose to Florida again, we are in huge trouble.
And you think
don't buy type of thing.
Do you think it shouldn't have had to have come down to that and Tennessee should have taken care of business the first time?
I don't think even if they played their best, I'm not sure they're beating that Florida team in that environment as the number 1 team in the country. I just think when you're the number 1 team and you were playing as good as they were, and they showed flashes of not playing great, and then Florida just attacked every single one of those. And so Tennessee was just ready to, pounce back on them and do something crazy, and they did.
And they just locked it. I mean, they locked all their guys down. Walter Clayton Jr. is their big guy also, that their leading scorer. Shot 3 for 13 in that game. Tennessee is a great defensive team. I mean, Zakai Ziegler and everybody else. I mean, it doesn't matter if 2 people are out because it's the identity. The identity of we are the best defensive team in the country is still there, even without the best players, which is, shout out Coach Barnes for that. That's tough to do. You can't just, will greatness upon the players, but he finds a way to make them think they're the best defensive team, and it's all about the schemes as well. It's they're coached well, and it's obvious. Like last year's Elite 8 team. Even with Tennessee has problems sometimes. Like last year was Dalton Connect show, but that's what brought them that far. Usually they kind of it's that group mentality doesn't really get them as far in March as you'd want to as a 2 or a 3 seed. But last year it sort of Connect, especially with Dalton Connect at the head of the snake, and then everyone else towards the sides. But Tennessee though, big win. Back in the saddle in the SEC.
And then
for them.
We're looking at also Maryland breaking into the top 25.
Don't sleep on the Terps down there.
Don't leave about
spring break capital of
Queen.
the Northeast.
Yeah, Pat Queen's good. He kind of cooked Eric Dixon earlier in the season. They played Villanova, but the problem with Maryland is they didn't. It's kind of interesting because you think we need to schedule this great non-conference play, the non-conference slate. They didn't. Willard, their head coach, didn't schedule many teams. I think their one challenge was against Villanova, and that's to say a lot, to say something right now. So but it's kind of working. They're in the Big Ten. They are, on a tear. Not like Michigan State on a tear, but they've won a lot of games, and as Andrew says, potential sleeper to win the Big Ten, if not, your favorite. You think
their ceiling is much better than a lot of the other teams in that conference right now. Other than Michigan State, I think when you're looking at teams like Purdue, I just don't really see it there. And yes, Purdue is ranked 7th in the country right now. They won some big games, but Purdue's not the best team in the conference. I think it's Michigan State.
I would agree with that.
We saw some ugly games. They got blown out at Penn State. They've got some big wins. They beat Alabama at home. I mean, that was nuts. They locked them down. I don't think I've seen that team since that game in West Lafayette. But Purdue will still be around. They're not going to the championship again.
Yeah, they're going to have a chance.
But I think Caleb Love might have broken Iowa State. They've lost 3 straight, and it's not been pretty in any of them. Kansas State, probably one of the worst teams in the Big 12 since what was it? Lowdown? Dude, when they were in their Buffalo Lowdown.
Oh,
you don't know about Lowdown? You don't know about Lowdown?
I do. I just thought you were clapping and swaying.
No, Jerome Tang. Clever Tang. So they've lost, 19? By 19 to one of the worst Big 12 teams. They got blown out in a game that was never close versus Kansas in Lawrence yesterday. And when a team beats you on a half-court shot to then go to overtime and then they demolish you in overtime, and then you lose 2 straight games by 20-ish points, how do you come back from that? I don't know. But that's just such a punch in the gut, especially a team doing so well. They were number 3 in the country.
I will say they also played in 2 of the craziest environments that I've seen this season. Allen Fieldhouse last night was absolutely insane.
Zoo.
And playing at Arizona is not an easy thing to do at all. And after Caleb Love hit that shot, you could almost sense it was over, and it felt like the crowd knew it too, because all the momentum was gone. I mean, you could see their coaching staff just sitting there hands in their face, oh no, this is it, whatever. And yeah, they're they're kind of falling apart, but they're going to be there.
They'll be
good
fine.
enough to be there.
They'll be fine. I mean, last year's team, you'd think, that Illinois game was back and forth. They could have, gone to the Elite Eight, but, stuck around to Sweet 16. But this is, again, Iowa State's a great program. You got to give them credit. The last couple of years they've been back. I mean, it's the highest rank in the AP poll they've ever had. It was this year when they were number 2. But I think tonight, huge game in this state, in the Empire State, in the world's most famous arena. You got number 11 Marquette and number 12 St. John's in Madison Square Garden. I think it's going to be a fantastic game. St. John's and Marquette, pretty much. I think the winner is going to get. I'd say the winner probably gets the top seed in the Big East. Still a lot of games to be played, but it's so weird because St. John's plays such a weird style of basketball where they don't hit any threes but play such great defense. They'll strangle you and just force you to make errors, and the defense on the defensive side they just attack you. And Marquette, I mean, they've got scores. They somehow got better without Tyler Kolek, which I don't know how that's possible. They can score anywhere. They've got guys like Chase Jones. Chase Ross, I should say, and Iguodala. They've lost. I mean, they lost their big guys like Iguodala and Kolek, and they still can attack these guys. But I think tonight it comes down to the defensive side of things, and St. John's takes over Marquette by 5. I think. You like that? I know you're a Marquette guy. You're a Shaka guy. You want him to go to UVA.
I am a Shaka guy, but I'm also a guy who thinks that St. John's is really good.
Undefeated at home, 14-0 in the Garden.
I think St. John's is winning that game by 10.
I don't mind that. It's so weird. It's like teams in this day and age, you kind of see it's leftover because Pitino's kind of like the last of the old guard. It feels like maybe you could put Self in there, maybe you could put Drew in there, I guess maybe. But Pitino seems like the last of the old head coaches that you're used to, like Boeheim and Krzyzewski and Roy Williams and all those, and Jay Wright and all those guys.
I think for that game it really depends on the crowd, because anytime a team gets to go play at Madison Square Garden, it's going to be the coolest experience of their career or of the season.
Right.
And so they're looking to play well. So every time you go there, you're going to get everyone's best shot. And the only way to cancel that out is to have a great environment, which in the Big East sometimes is somewhat hard to do when you're trying to fill out absolutely massive arenas. Georgetown doesn't fill out the Capital One arena. They don't do it.
Yeah.
And so when they get a UConn there, there's nobody sitting in the upper bowl.
Yeah.
And so the environment is not good. And that's something that when you're maybe struggling just a little bit is there. But for St. John's, if they have a good crowd, I think everything will be great.
The thing with them, too, is it's the same thing. Georgetown, you saw, they won a couple games. They beat Xavier, beat a bunch of other guys. And people showed up for that UConn game. This time, I'm getting quieted. Quiet this time.
Wow.
All right, join us on the other side of this break. You're listening to Newhouse Afternoon. We'll be right back on ESPN Radio 97.7. And if you want to stick with us over the break, you can watch us on QSportsTalk.com.
This is Orange.
I feel like I should hand this to you. I feel like you need to use that and do it in between us.
Well, I was talking. Cam Jones was that he scores 21 points a game. If St. John's can't lock him down, it's gonna be a tough night.
You know what? The next.
Oh, I'll quiet please for lacrosse. I got some questions for Jill actually.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay.
What are the 3 Power 5? What are the 3
the
conferences that have 5 guys?
Best SAT scores, Ivy League.
Shout out Liam Hoffman at Princeton.
Dude. Erie Canal Museum, dude.
We
never give our Duke predictions.
Oh, that'll be okay.
No, we should probably give those. We get at the end, maybe.
I don't really know if I should give mine.
I think
Syracuse by 30.
I think they can probably get it done. Okay, not probably. They need to play great 3-point defense and not foul shooters in the paint. 2 things they're not great at. 2 things they can't really do. So if they can magically
do all the things they do.
No, not all of it. No. And probably make some threes too. That wouldn't hurt.
And that would help.
That sounds a good idea.
Lucas Taylor, though, 19.
You know how they could win that game? They score more points than
the other.
Oh my God, I love when teams do that, when they score more points the other team
golf.
to win.
I hate when they do it in golf.
Yeah.
That's my least
the
favorite
worst.
thing. It's because I'm excited that they're going to score all these points. Dude, I'll be quiet.
Be quiet.
No, because it's PGA.
What if I
and
eat
you
this
said golf
highlighter on?
Oh, well, that's mine.
That's a crazy thing to do.
That'd be crazy.
It's good. It's smear guard. It's good. It's high quality Sharpie right here.
You don't want things to smear.
Who's better, Vermont men's soccer? Well, actually,
They just won the national championship.
All right, Vermont men's soccer before the tournament or Vermont men's lacrosse?
Vermont men's
soccer. They still went on before the tournament.
But you didn't know that.
Win.
You thought they were your first round exit. I saw your bracket, Jill.
No.
You didn't make a bracket, did you? I didn't either. I probably should have. But I would have had Vermont Marshall, that's for sure.
I would have had Vermont Marshall.
I'm America East, ride or die.
That's true. No, but I thought you didn't like Vermont.
I have never said that. Anytime there's another team within my old conference that comes up, you go, I thought you didn't like them.
Well, you didn't like UMBC. I thought that was true.
Nah.
Quick shout out to the Retrievers. Quick shout out to that little guy from 2016.
18.
18? What was his name?
You mean a basketball player?
Yeah.
Well, I was like, you lost me.
Shock and awe in college basketball.
I really couldn't tell you what his name was.
I don't even know who you're talking about.
If you saw him, you would know.
You would know him.
Give me a first name, and I'll get the last name. Well, what did you just search, by the way, to find that?
Little guy, UNBC.
What's his name, Joe?
What's his first name?
The Retriever.
He's the?
Mm-hmm. He's the Retriever.
But Andrew knew that was going to happen. People forget that. He knew that day was strange.
You can never trust UVA basketball. Or,
Jairus Lyles? Or Jairus Lyles? Jairus? KJ Mora and Jordan Grant?
KJ Mora.
Was it KJ Mora? It had to be KJ Mora.
I think so. No, maybe
No,
not.
KJ Mora was the other guy.
They were so good, man. They balled.
It is KJ Mora. He had the headband.
Yeah.
What's he doing these days?
I don't know.
He's a Puerto Rican professional basketball player.
He's probably doing great things.
Cuse Gal said, I like the beard pat, something new.
Oh, thank you, Cuse Gal. I've been trimming a little bit.
Thank you.
Working on this a little bit. Working on it. We're trying something new. It keeps me warm on the long walks to my apartment.
That is the one thing, is I don't know how to keep my face warm on the way here.
Have you ever heard of a scarf?
Yeah, I've heard of a scarf, but do I own a scarf now?
Oh, well, maybe we can go scarf shopping.
Okay. We'll figure something out.
I think that'll be a good idea.
Maybe. I'm not sure I'm a
Watch your favorite ESPN Syracuse sports talk shows on QSportsTalk.com. Tomorrow's broadcasting stars today. Broadcasting live from the campus of Syracuse University. This is Newhouse Afternoon.
Welcome back to Newhouse Afternoon. I'm Jill Schumacher here with Andrew Watson and Patrick Scanlon. It is the first official week of college lacrosse this past weekend, and I could not be more excited about it. We all went to the Dome this past weekend to watch the Jacksonville game against Syracuse, and I would say that the Orange offense did not disappoint, and the defense. The defense kept it pretty locked down, I would say.
Yeah, at one point I just felt bad for Jacksonville. I mean, when it was 10-0, I was sitting there and I was like, wow, man, I want Syracuse to win. I want them to win by a lot.
But let's make this, can we make this better?
Like, let's just get one, two good plays. And then they pulled it around and did some good things.
Because a lot of people were saying that that Dolphin squad, a little spunky, some ASN teams make some damage.
They can be. So the thing about Jacksonville is, 2-3 years ago, they were a pretty, solid, sound team. I don't really know if they just didn't have it all together, or if what I think is the truth is that Syracuse is just a drastically better team than they were offensively and defensively. So I liked what I saw all around. I like what I saw on defense. The face-off was great. And the one stat that really stuck with me is that Jacksonville only scored one of their goals in a settled offense. The rest of them were either on transition or they were on man down. So that says to me that our defense, Syracuse's defense, is looking pretty solid right now.
Yeah, especially in a conference where the defense is always relatively good. I feel like you see a lot of low-scoring games in the ACC, but I don't know. They looked really good. I can't even put into words how different it felt. Whenever Jacksonville would get the ball on that side of the field, you were just so comfortable.
Rarely. Yeah.
You never were worried or anything. It was absolutely nuts to watch.
Yeah, I mean, the only other game within the ACC that you could focus on during this past week was Duke Bellarmine.
Bellarmine.
I mean, I don't
Louisville a
even
couple
want to
times.
say the score of that game. It was just as bad as the Jacksonville-Syracuse game. It was 26-7. But one game I would look out for coming up this Saturday is the Michigan-North Carolina game. Those are both top 20 teams, so that would be a pretty good early matchup within the season to look out for, which I'm very, very excited about.
Syracuse was doing a lot of, the offense was flashy. Like, and they weren't afraid to be flat. Like you saw behind the back passes, you saw, little sidearms. Do you think that will continue to happen against better ranked teams in the ACC? Do you think that the flash will still be for this offense, or do you think it'll be more, more careful? Would you say,
The thing is that we have in this team a very, very talented offense that has been working together for this past 3 years, which is why I think it might seem flashy, but in reality, they just have great chemistry and trust their teammates to be there. And for that reason, yes, it will continue against some higher seeded opponents, but also the quick passes, perimeter passing, coming around at X is all happening because a lot of these guys play box lacrosse together, and when you work in that small environment and then you get put onto the field for field lacrosse, your passing just increases because you have more basically surface area to work with. So that's why they were able to get those shots off so quickly. And Gary Gate also was speaking very, very highly of their defense and their two goalies that they have as an option right now. You have one super tall guy and then one guy who's like mid-height and very, very quick. So when you have certain teams, you have a variety to choose from and decide what you need that day.
Do you keep one goalie per game, or could it be interchanged, or does it depend on the matchup and what happens there?
It would depend on the matchup. Usually you're not going to see a goalie switch unless there is, I don't want to say something drastic happens, or if there's a strategical advantage to having a certain goalie in where one might be quicker with his hands, with his feet, or someone just might be a little bit more taller and agile. So it's all very much situational.
Mm-hmm.
It's always good to have options.
Yeah.
But I do want to give out a shout out to the rest of the games in the ACC this week. Michigan UNC is going to be a great game, but Duke travels to Jacksonville. Jacksonville's looking for revenge. I think that one's going to be pretty interesting. Do I think it'll be a similar outcome? Possibly. Considering
it's different when
Duke
you're
just did to Bellarmine, but
in the Sunshine State.
Yeah,
me and you were both very surprised by the score.
I was very surprised. Both of them, to be completely honest with you. It's not something you expect to see. First game of the season, an offense clicking like that and a defense clicking like that. It was like they've already played 6 or 7 games against teams that are ranked in the top 10.
Yeah,
and it's nuts.
When I say that, I don't mean that I wasn't expecting Syracuse to be that good. I just was expecting it to be a little bit of a somewhat closer game where Jacksonville to put up a little bit more points, but we're just completely scales tipped out the window.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then it's hard you talk about that advantage for Jacksonville playing at Duke. Sorry, for Duke going to Jacksonville. Yeah. I like Jacksonville Stadium. It's small, it's compact, people bring their lawn chairs, they all sit there, and you've talked about this before, the home field advantage in lacrosse, how certain stadiums don't really have that, and how it's not a huge thing because a lot of these teams play in huge football stadiums and they don't fill them all the time.
Yeah, a lot of times, like the really good teams, Maryland plays in their football stadium most often. They never fill that place out. But when you're good enough to do it, it's almost like the teams you're playing against aren't starstruck by the crowd.
No.
They're like, Jacksonville wasn't blown away by how good or how bad the Syracuse crowd was on Saturday. They were blown away by how good the team was. But when you get Duke is not a great example.
Hopkins.
Obviously. But like Hopkins has one of the best environments.
I would agree.
Virginia has a good one at Klockner down there, but it's not anywhere near Hopkins. But shout out Colgate, by the way. Hamilton, New York, going down to Charlottesville this weekend. That one will be interesting.
I think it will too.
Yeah.
They Colgate had a very, very hot start to their season last year, and I'm excited to see how they start off. And that is not an easy matchup to start off, especially with the Million Brothers.
But if you want to be the best, you got to play the best, and I guess that's what these teams are thinking. And if you're Virginia, you're thinking, okay, well, we can bring in a team who's on the cusp of being ranked. I think they received votes. Colgate did. but
they did.
Still, you have the opportunity with McCabe and Brendan Millen down there to, build something new in the post-Connor Schellenberger era down there in Charlottesville.
I think you talked about how the home field advantage is going to, it depends. It could play a role, but it depends, again, like who you're playing and when you're playing, right? So, but Syracuse is not going to have to deal with that until they only played 2 road games through March 29th. So a lot of dome games to be seen, a lot of them against top 20, top 15 teams. So a lot of good stuff in the JMA Wireless stuff to look forward to.
Yeah, getting Hopkins and Notre Dame at home is absolutely massive because you avoid the travel first off, but then you make them come into your place, especially for a Notre Dame team that I guess the jury's still out on whether they're going to be as good as they were or if they're going to fall off just a little bit. But the ACC is really good this year.
It's going to be how it has been over the past couple of years. The ACC is just such a dominant conference, and then Big Ten is also right up there with them. It's very exciting year for lacrosse, I do have to say, and the Syracuse program had just always been on the cusp of that national title and making it to the championship game, and that loss to Denver last year was tough. And I think that they have the right mentality now, and Coach Gates said it himself. He's like, we're not worried about expectations. We're going game by game, week by week. We're doing our thing, and I think that is a great approach, and to just dial in, and I think they're going to do great this season, and I'm very, very excited to see what they have to do.
Yeah, and I do think with a schedule like they have playing, it'd probably end up being 8 or 9 teams that are going to be very competitive to make the tournament. I think you almost can expect them to have a stumble or two.
Yeah.
But it's the you don't lose, you learn mentality. Going game by game. If they lose a game or two that maybe they're not happy with, I think learning from that, they're still going to be in the chase to not only make the NCAA tournament, but to go to Gillette Stadium and have a chance to win a national championship. So, I mean, just one game at a time, especially when the schedule is as tough as it is this year.
Yeah, and Gillette is a great atmosphere when it comes down to the tournament. I've been there before. It is absolutely awesome. And men's and women's are both going to be there this year, which is phenomenal, and I'm super, super excited about it.
Are you going to be there?
I want to go.
Lock it in right now.
I'll lock it in. I'm going. All right. You're listening to Newhouse Afternoon. We'll be right back on ESPN Radio, Syracuse 97.7. But if you want to chat during the commercial break, you can watch us on QSportsTalk.com.
Hey, this is former Syracuse.
Thank you. Dude.
Super Bowl.
Super Bowl.
What are the biggest games on Sunday? That game's on Sunday, right? The Super Bowl's on Sunday. I have no idea.
Can someone call in? 315-437-7644. Call in for any questions.
That'd be crazy.
Expecting a call from Buddy Boeheim.
Buddy Boeheim.
He's got a lot to say.
I'm still stuck on that, like the beard pads.
All right,
yeah,
the biggest sporting events.
Glad I got some love there.
The biggest sporting events on Super Bowl Sunday.
Number one, Villanova at Xavier.
Yeah.
Sorry, Xavier Villanova.
And the other one?
Hold on a second.
I think we're going to be there.
Do you want your
George
stick
Washington
back?
Oh, sure. I'll take it. GW at St. Bonaventure.
The Bonnie crowd. The
Don't
Bonnie
sleep
faithful.
on the A-10. That's a huge game in the conference.
Ooh, Temple at Memphis and Rutgers at Maryland. You don't like Rutgers, Andrew.
Rutgers.
I was very...
Ooh, UMass at LaSalle. Should we go to that one?
I'm just going to look away.
What?
At you for saying that out loud.
Dude, well, LaSalle tonight. VCU. First LaSalle in the Siegel Center.
19-point dogs.
Wow. Well, here, give your little break A10 recap for all those A10 listeners out there.
If there's an A10 listener out there, I'd be very surprised. But who knows?
Hey, you got some St. Bonnie listeners.
Let me pull this up because things might have changed since I last
dove in. Look at it. Now talk about it. That's they're in worse shape than than anyone, honestly.
Yeah, they are.
They
were so close to being a
3-bid league.
Being a 3-bid league.
Talk about cannibalism, that conference, man.
Yeah, they.
You're really on it with like the adverbs and adjectives today. Cannibalism. You had you said a bunch of other words earlier.
I was mumbling, stumbling.
I don't know.
George Mason.
Yeah, don't sleep. We said it. We said it last week. Something's brewing down there in Fairfax.
Oh my goodness.
They're leading the conference. VCU's second. St. Louis, man, they had a great opportunity. They beat VCU. Fans were fighting in the stands. That was fantastic. Basketball.
Dude, why did Davidson change their logo? This logo stinks. It's like a D and a C. It used to be a cool Wildcat.
That's not what I've got here. They've still got the Wildcat.
Good.
Yeah,
I want the
I think
official.
they use a little bit of both. I've been in that arena.
Maybe they use
Watch
both.
the University of Lynchburg play Davidson there last year.
A10.
Look at that Duquesne Duke. All right, so if you had to pick, you had to pick your team that's dancing from the A10. Who is winning the automatic bid?
Let me check
UMass.
Because I think VCU still has a chance.
VCU's second in the conference right now.
How's Dayton looking right now?
They need to win the tournament.
They were doing so well. They beat UConn. They beat Marquette.
The real problem you run into in this conference now is that I think VCU and Dayton play twice. So if they split, then you don't have a team.
So you need someone to sweep. Whoever wins the first game, you need to win the second.
So if George Mason runs the table, or VCU runs the table, because I think VCU is still the highest ranked net team in the conference. If they run the table and win out, they're probably going to earn an at-large bid. But then you run into the problem where if they win out, because they've got games against Dayton.
Okay, they have 2 games against Dayton.
I'm taking Fordham.
The problem is, though, if you beat Dayton twice, Dayton won't be as good. They won't be a quad 1 game because they're 72nd. If you beat them, then
is it home first or away first?
Away. It's at Dayton.
Oh, that's not good. But you'll add a quad. Is that a quad 1 win right now?
At Dayton would be because it's a top 75 road game.
You get
they're number 72.
Win.
They're about to right off the edge. But
get a quad 2 win at home. But if VCU runs the table, then they'll be in. But the problem is that if there's a bid stealer, they might be the team that gets their bid stolen from.
That's what I'm thinking. No one's got, like, it wasn't like Dayton last year where they were automatically in.
Yeah,
and then
they were
just
23rd in the net last year when they finished.
Well, they were pretty good.
Yeah. Do we not?
Did you say why don't we miss that?
Do you guys not like the
I'm really
Richmond
confused
Spiders?
because
Richmond's really bad. Richmond's worse than Fordham.
I say Fordham because I know a ton of people who went there because I'm from Long Island. But
Long Island.
Since when is Fordham a Division I? They're D3 and everything else.
ESPN 97.7 and 100.1. Watch live on QSportsTalk.com.
I'm serious.
Tomorrow's broadcasting stars today.
Hold on, we can talk about it next.
On the campus of Syracuse University. This is Newhouse Afternoon.
Welcome back to Newhouse Afternoon. I'm Jill Schumacher here with Andrew Watson and Patrick Scanlon. We were just talking about the A10.
Fordham is a D1 school. They're a basketball school. They're not playing great basketball, but they are Division I. They're in the Atlantic 10.
Can you please look at what other...
They're D1 in everything.
I could have sworn.
I'll have you know.
What school are you thinking of that is not?
You're thinking of Hofstra, maybe?
Hofstra's Division I.
They are Division I. I'm saying there are a few basketball teams around that aren't.
I'm not talking about basketball just for Fordham. I'm talking about other things like soccer and football.
Just FYI, folks, Fordham is 9-12 in men's basketball right now.
Yeah, if you're wondering how we got here, we were talking about the A10 standings.
That is a fun
conference
to watch.
Tournament.
If you have some free time in your hands, go watch the A10. You have no idea 1 through 14, 15.
And
who's
Jill
going to win that conference.
Jill decided that Fordham's going to win 5 straight games in the A10 tournament at Capital One Arena and make their way to the big
and
dance.
he'll be there to watch.
They're going to be
Andrew
dancing.
Watson.
Because they sleep in May.
Well, they were going to sleep in early March, so unless they go to the NIT or the CBI, live from Daytona Beach. But I don't know about all that.
More recently, obviously, we have the Super Bowl coming up. A lot of people are saying they're not really excited about this one for various reasons. They don't want to watch the same matchup once again.
I think this matchup on Super Bowl Sunday is a good one.
George
Washington, St. Bonaventures is a great game. Oh, yeah. That's how we got to Fordham.
Oh, wait, you're talking about Xavier Villanova.
I'm talking about Rutgers at Maryland, actually.
Oh,
no.
Real big games on
Sunday. That's how we got to Fordham, was the A10 talk. But yeah, Super Bowl Sunday, I mean, it's a rematch from 2 years ago. You know, not a lot of people like Eagles fans. People are tired of the Chiefs. It's going to be a great game. It's going to come down to the last possession. It's the best rushing attack in the country versus just the dynasty. So something memorable is going to happen. It's not going to be one of those snoozer games. So people will be upset, and they will be upset. It's like, I don't want to cheer for either of these teams. I like when my
when Commanders make this.
Commanders make the Super Bowl. When Commanders play the Bills, it was like, okay, that
Bills versus Lions would have saved
humanity.
the United States of America.
Left hand up.
What?
Left hand up. Who are we? The Commanders.
Oh, sorry. I didn't know about all the Commander stuff.
I didn't know
You're a
that
Commanders
either.
guy.
Come on.
No, but even Travis Kelce was saying at a press conference, he's like, if I had one thing to say to the media, it would be, why are you guys feeding into all this ref stuff? And
It's true.
He's like, that's all I have to say. And then he got up.
Kansas City has been, if they've gotten the better end of the calls. The last 12 playoff games, they've had fewer penalties, a lot of them. Yeah, you could say it's a more disciplined team, but the stats are there for a conspiracy to happen. I'm not saying it's true. I'm just saying that the stats are there to showcase that.
When teams are good, NFL fans seem to find a way to push them down, and that's what they're doing with the Chiefs. If you like football, you have a chance to watch history. Mm-hmm. They could win 3 in a row.
Yeah.
But everyone's saying, "Oh no, I don't want to watch it." I think that's nuts. You can't be like, "Oh yeah, Bills Commanders," and then when they don't make it, this is awful.
Yeah. Well,
Halftime show is going to be sick though.
Yes.
Well, you tell me your theory.
No, I'm not putting my theory out there because my theory is very out there.
Well, SZA's going to perform with him.
It is
that'd be sick. No, my
that's
theory
confirmed.
is that the Drake-Kendrick beef is gone and Drake comes out and performs.
That would
Kendrick.
be crazy.
You heard it here first on Newhouse Afternoon.
That would be crazy. All right, if this happens, we're clipping this and we're saying that we called that Drake's coming out at halftime.
And if it doesn't happen,
we never said
this. This could be next from the tape. But I have a cool prop bet for any bettors out there. The best Super Bowl bet allegedly is 2.5 over on 2.5 players with a pass attempt. So make sure everyone at the party is riding the same bet. The moment you see a position player or a punter go for a pass and attempt it, it's pretty much hits. Or if say a backup goes in for a drive, hits. So you're getting that at plus 250. So put $10 down, you win 25. Not a bad bet.
So right now the Chiefs are slightly.
Joe did not like that at all.
I don't bet. I don't.
I know, but some listeners might.
I know, but I'm saying
that's
you're
a fun one too.
I agree, but you're saying betting numbers, and I don't know it over and under.
I just told you if you bet $10, you win 25.
Oh, that sounds good. What is it again? I'll write it down.
It is plus 250 for over 2.5 passes by any player. So you obviously get your 2 quarterbacks, but if, say there's a double pass or there's a fake pass by a punter or a backup comes in for a drive, that would cash.
All right. Well, yeah, I'll keep an eye on that one then.
You'll definitely keep an eye.
But right now the Chiefs are slightly favored. What do we think the Eagles need to do in order to capitalize and win this game? I personally think that the Eagles are going to cash out.
I think the Chiefs are going to win again.
I always I think this was my answer for when people are like, what's going to happen in the Bills game? What's going to happen in Bills Chiefs? I was like, I think the Bills are the better team, but I just can't go against the Chiefs. Even the stats back them up. Even the stats back up the Eagles or whoever it may be. I will not go against the Chiefs until further notice because it's just not. It's just unwise at this point.
Until someone proves you wrong.
I have my own tactics on what they need to do.
Please tell them, Coach Schumacher, what's going on?
Call up the coaching staff.
Yes, you can call me really quick. I think that the Eagles need to double team Kelce. They need to force Mahomes to look for other receivers, considering the fact that Kelce has around 52 reception yards per game, and that's I think 40%, 30% of receiving yards for the Chiefs.
52?
52 on average per game, and on average the Eagles allow 190.
I thought you were talking about how much the Chiefs have. I was just confused.
No. So I'm just thinking if you can limit Kelce and force Mahomes to look to other receivers or try to make some type of scramble out of the pocket, you're going to have somewhat of a little bit more of an advantage. You just can't let Kelce get hot.
I think it should come back down to the Eagles' passing attack. They're abysmal. It's 29th in the country in total yards. Passing, they pass for 187.9 a game. They talk about all this rah-rah about Saquon and all them saying, we're the best rushing team in the country. We can beat teams playing real physical football. Well, if they load the box on you and you're getting stopped with 8 guys in the middle, you're going to have to find a way to pass the ball. And I've seen Jalen Hurts do it before. You've seen him do it at college. You've seen him do select games. You've also seen him not do it, especially this season. They rely on the run a lot. So once they start to clog Saquon up, can you beat them through the air, and can you keep up with this Chiefs team that really isn't they've 17 in the country in total yards, but they find ways to score. They've scored, they always just find a way to score at least 1 point more than the other team. So can you find a way to outscore, even if it's one of those lower scoring or higher scoring games? It'll depend on the Eagles' offense.
Do you have a final score prediction?
My final score prediction is it's kind of going along with that. I think it's not so much up to the Chiefs finding a way to win this game. I don't think so.
No,
yeah, I think they are going to go out there and do anything it takes, and they will find a way to do it. So I'm taking the Chiefs. They're winning 3 in a row.
Mm-hmm, same.
I think they're going 27-20. Eagles have the ball last.
Oh, wow.
4th down. And
You think it's going by a full?
I was going 27-24 Chiefs.
I was going to go like a smaller margin. You think it's going to be a full
touchdown?
But they'll have a chance late.
So I think there's going to be a chance for the Eagles late anyway.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, that's all we have for Newhouse Afternoon. Make sure you tune into the sports show with Cody Mack.
We have our question. Judge Jill
you want my Judge Jill question?
Quick, go quick. Dun. This is Judge Jill's courtroom. All verdicts are final. Something. Bum, bum.
All right. Which NFL team would Kyle McCord be the most impactful
Not
for?
the Jets.
And not who he will get traded to.
Most impactful. The Titans would
be drafted to.
The Titans.
I like the Titans.
You think he would make the most impact on the Titans?
It's the Titans, yep.
All right. Well, if you both agree, then that's all we have for Newhouse Afternoon. Tune in to the sports show with Cody Mack. That is up next.
This is Orange Nation.
Can I tell you that?